Welcome to the next video. In this video, we'll talk about three cross-functional supply chain drivers, namely information, sourcing, and pricing. Earlier, we have already talked about facilities, inventory, and transportation. There were separate videos for these, but for these three, this is a single video. First, let us take information. When we talk about information is produced across the supply chain. It is about the orders which are placed by the retailers to the wholesalers, from the wholesalers to the factories, and by factories to the suppliers. Information is also produced on the status of inventory with the retailers, with the wholesalers, at the factories, and at the suppliers. It is also about the production plans. So what is being produced and what is planned to be produced. So there is information about production plans. And also capacities of the equipment which is there. So this is about the machines, it is about the people, it is about the plants, it is about the warehouses. And all this information, each of this, it has information about the order that it has received and orders it has placed, and its own capacity and inventories. But in a supply chain, if they are also able to get access to this information, what orders have been placed by a retailer to the wholesaler? What is the inventory status of the retailer? What is the inventory status of the supplier? What are the production plans of the supplier? And what are the shipment plans of the wholesaler? This will help this particular entity to improve its performance. In the presence of better information, better decisions can be taken. So not only the manufacturer, but if everybody else also starts getting information about others, they should be able to take far better decisions and the performance of supply chain, it should improve. The information that is available not only about yourself but also about other entities, this is required for production scheduling, vehicle routing, placing the orders, if inventory is high, place smaller orders, making the shipments, changing the capacities, whether to hire additional people or whether to outsource in case there has been problem with the capacities at the supplier's end because there is a strike or there has been a fire. What are the components of supply chain decisions? These can be classified into four categories. First is nature of production. Whether the nature of production is push type or it is pull type. Push means that products are being produced in anticipation of demand. Most of the products which are sold in retail shops, these are push type. They are made and they are stocked in the retailers. Customer comes and buys. And for push type of production, we can do the planning using what is called materials requirement planning. So it also requires information. Another is pull type. Pull type means that customer is pulling the product. So push means that you push it to the retailer and at the retailer customer comes and takes those products. Pull type means that customer asks the retailer but retailer does not have the product in the store. So he places the order, and then this is produced and it comes. So therefore it is called pull because customer is pulling the product which is not available in the stock. And products which are available in the stock, these are generally push type, because you produce and push it to the retailer, and when the customer comes, he buys. When customer has got specific requirement, then we have pull type. And if customer is not very specific about product, then it could be push type. Few years back, if you wanted a shirt, you had to go to the tailor, and we had this kind of production system. Ready-made trousers, ready-made shirts, ready-made garments, they were just not there, except for very few people. Not only people did not buy, but it was also not available. But over a period today, most of this, it has become like this. Companies are producing and it is available in the retail store, you go and buy. So when it comes to make to order type of things, role of information becomes very critical. Because when the customer comes, one has to get the specifications, one has to get the order, one has to get the time at which it has to be delivered. And immediately these have to be communicated to the previous entity which is going to produce. And quick capturing and processing, and based on that creating what is bill of material, and based on that what is available in the inventory and what is to be ordered or what is to be produced. All this kind of information is required. So role of information is more critical when it comes to make to order. Another aspect of information is coordination and information sharing. Since in a supply chain there are different entities, they placed orders in this direction and the product moves in this direction. If the supply chain is not integrated and all the players are working independently, which means sharing of information is not being done by these entities, then it can be shown that the performance of the whole supply chain, when everybody is working for their own, on their own, then the performance of supply chain can become worse. And no entity can improve the performance of that. That is called bullwhip effect, to which we have bullwhip effect, for which we have a separate chapter. We will be dealing with that, and it largely deals with information sharing and coordination problems. Another aspect of information is about new technologies which have emerged in last few decades. Now most of the big companies, they are using ERP, not only for finance or procurement, but also for production and supply chain decisions. In fact, there are some specialized softwares for SCM. Besides that, new kind of technologies that is also making its presence felt, like radio frequency ID. These days we are very familiar with barcodes. The problem with barcodes is, then to read the barcode, the reader and where the barcode is there, they have to be in proximity, which means barcode should be visible to the barcode reader. So distances have to be very, very short, like 2 or 3 feet. But RFID, they may be active or they may be not active. So if you have got a reader here, RFID reader, even if something is few meters away, you can get a status of what are the items which are available in the stock, or what vehicle has entered here. So like barcode, which has reduced data entry problems, improved the accuracy and speeded up the transactions, same way RFID, it is going to do it in much more. It is again going to do something similar or in the supply chains. One more aspect of information is related to sales and operation planning. A company has to do planning for its operation, what it has to produce. And to produce it requires information from sales who give the forecast. And based on the forecast and available capacity, company has to decide what it has to produce and what it has to outsource. And for this forecast, so you have got information, and for what you want to produce or outsource, that is also related to the information. Now let us look at second cross-functional supply chain driver, that is sourcing. Sourcing is getting goods from others. In fact, sourcing is about two things. One is about goods, materials, components, but also it is about the services. In supply chain, services, two major services could be related to warehousing services and transportation services. On sourcing, we have a separate chapter later, which we will deal separately. Three things we would like to mention here. One is, first is to decide whether to produce in-house or to outsource. And similarly, whether to have your own warehouse and operate them, whether to have your own transportation and operate them, or should you outsource. This could be a strategic decision, or it could be unavoidable decision. It could be a strategic decision that you do not want to outsource because it may lead to higher competition. Your supplier may become your competitor in due course of time, or you would like to protect a technology which should not reach to your competitors through your suppliers, or it could be some other reason that you want to produce in-house. Second is about supplier selection. So if you have decided to go for outsourcing, then who are the people who want to supply to you? Who are the people whom you are going to select and whom you are not going to select? This itself is a major activity, and it takes years to make the supplier and develop the vendors, because all the time suppliers may not be easily available. If you want milk, you can go to market and buy milk, but if you want to get parts, you have to identify only few people will be willing to supply those parts, and you may find that all of them, they are not suiting to your requirements. Either they are too far, or they are too expensive, or they don't have capacity, or they don't have ISO, or they are working with their competitors. There could be several of these kind of reasons. So how do you go about selecting the suppliers? This we'll see in the chapter on sourcing. Once we have decided who will be our suppliers, then on, this is the activity which you do every 2-3 years. You also relook at your suppliers, and you may like to add new suppliers. You may like to take out some of your existing suppliers. But on day-to-day basis, company has to do the procurement. So it has to place the orders and get the goods from the supplier. So this is what we will also look at sourcing. In procurement, we will also have the case of pricing. Now let us look at the last or the third cross-functional supply chain driver, that is pricing. We have a separate chapter on pricing which we will deal later towards the end of the course. What are the components of pricing decisions? First is pricing and economies of scale. People find that if scale is high, price is low. So if somebody wants to buy large quantities, then you offer discounts. So if you want unit cost is like this. If you ask for 10 units, price is 15 rupees. But if somebody says, I want 5 units, 15, and if he says, I want 50,000 units, so maybe you may give it 8 rupees. So pricing depends on economies of your internal scale, how you are producing, and also on the marketing cost. Second aspect of pricing which affects the supply chain performance is everyday low pricing versus high low pricing. Everyday low pricing means that you have got one price which is stable, which means you have got stable price or it is changing very little. And then we have another aspect which is high low pricing. So this is time. In this particular case where prices are stable, you should expect very stable sales. If sales are stable, the orders that you place to your suppliers, that will be stable. The requirement, that also will be stable in terms of shipment from the suppliers. But if you have got another kind of high-low, which means every week, either for all the items or for few items, you are changing your prices. When prices are low, demand, let me make here, demand is high. Then you have increased the price, demands come down. Then you find you have reduced the price, so it goes up and it comes down and it goes up. Because of this kind of pricing, your sales also changes. Therefore, your inventory also changes, and therefore your ordering also changes. And to meet to uneven orders like this, which is very likely in such a kind of cases, it adds to tremendous cost. And we will see that this is one of the parts which is dealt in bullwhip effect, a chapter which will be dealing later. So the kind of pricing that you have, whether it is everyday low pricing or this pricing, it will add to tremendous cost on inventory, transportation and production. Another aspect of pricing decision is whether you have got fixed price or it is menu pricing. Fixed price means that you have got a price which is fixed and largely it varies with the volume. So if somebody asks for high volume, then unit cost is less. Menu pricing means that price depends not only on volume, but it also depends on other aspects which are directly related to supply chain. It could be related to whether it is home delivery or it is delivery will be taken by the customer in the store, or whether he wants quick delivery or he wants a normal delivery. If it is a quick delivery, price is going to be different and generally higher, and if it is a normal delivery, it is going to be lower. Just like we have speed post, which is like this, and this is the normal post. Normal post is slow and it is low price, and speed post, it is high priced and it is quicker, plus it has got many more features. Normal post is put on the letter box, but this is hand delivered. Signatures are taken, and also you can track that particular item on the web, and you also get a confirmation by SMS that the consignment has been delivered. So these kind of aspects, whether it is of economies of scale, which adds or reduces your cost of production, which increases your supply chain costs, and menu pricing, which increases your supply chain costs. So all these aspects of pricing we are going to deal with in a separate chapter. All that I want to mention here is that pricing, like other supply chain drivers, they also affect supply chain performance, and performance we are saying is in terms of profit. Profit is coming from revenue minus cost, and revenue, it is coming from responsiveness, and cost is for efficiency. So if you have got high-low pricing, you can get more responsiveness or you can get more revenue. That is why high-low pricing is done. But high-low pricing is going to add to tremendous supply chain costs. So with this, we complete the 3 supply chain drivers which are cross-functional. Thank you.